Hey, how's it going, everybody? Today we're talking about the pagan origins of Christmas. I, for one, have celebrated Christmas my entire life, but I've always heard people talking about it's a pagan holiday. There's pagan origins to Christmas, and I have friends who are Christians who don't celebrate Christmas because of this. And I haven't really looked into it, so we're going to look into it a bit today. All right, here we go. These 6 Christmas traditions are actually pagan customs, and this is from sheffin.com.au. So what are the different pagan traditions we're talking about here? Gift giving, the image of Santa Claus. I mean, we knew that's not biblical. I mean, the entirety of Christmas isn't the way we celebrate it in modern times with Santa Claus and all that. Obviously, it's not biblical. Jesus' birth, we don't know when Jesus was born. It probably wasn't December 25th. Before going into this article, based off what I know, we chose December 25th because it aligned with, as far as I know, another pagan holiday, right? So they sort of co-opted this already accepted tradition and changed it into Christmas. That may be wrong, but that's from what I know. That's what I know. So, but let's keep going. Image of Santa Claus, Christmas stockings, Christmas caroling, and decking the halls with holly and decorating trees. Interesting. Okay, so first off, let's talk about who are the pagans. This is good. A lot of these debates and conversations, we don't figure out the ground rules. We don't lay the definitions out, which leads to miscommunication. So, what exactly is a pagan? Okay? First things first, what do we mean when we say pagan? This is a sweeping term that encompasses anyone from the Romans to the Norse in Scandinavia. As Christianity spread through Europe in the early 80s, missionaries got to know a lot of different groups of people with varying religious systems and beliefs. All of these people and religions were lumped into the catch-all term pagan. Although Christians had the goal of spreading their religion across Europe, they were still quite fascinated by many of the customs and the ways of the pagans. If you followed our Bible study, that's not too dissimilar to the Jews, being taken up by pagan practices that were around them. Clearly, they were fascinated enough to pick up a few of those beliefs and traditions and adapt them as part of Christian celebrations. We saw that in the Bible as well, how the children of Israel co-opted pagan practices, co-opted pagan gods even, and melded their religion with pagan practices. And looks like we're doing the same thing today. All right, so the winter solstice celebration. I think this is going into what I had mentioned just now. Keep reading, and you'll find that Christmas is inspired by traditions from the Romans, Celtics, Norse, Druids, and more, all pagan. At the time of these different groups, at the time, all of these different groups shared one big celebration that happened to fall around Christmas time, the winter solstice. People living in the northern hemisphere celebrate winter solstice, or the shortest day of the year, smack bang in the middle of December. And this is why Christmas just so happened to fall around the same time as many existing pagan holidays. So that's what I've heard. So instead of creating a completely different holiday, I think it was Constantine who did it. I'm not entirely sure, but that's what I've heard. And to unite the peoples, he co-opted the holiday that people, a time of the year that people already celebrated, and just did some rebranding. I may be wrong. Let me know down in the comment section if you know better. I'm just remember, we're dipping our toes into this, so we're going to be learning a whole lot. The winter solstice was a huge part of pagan life. As they were primarily agricultural people, winter marked the end of the year's harvest and the chance to enjoy the company of loved ones and rest from the toiling fields. Pagans could stop farming through the winter and instead devoted themselves to worshipping their various gods and celebrating with those around them. As winter in the northern hemisphere tends to be dark, cold, and hungry, period of time, the winter solstice was celebrated to keep people entertained and enjoy themselves until the sun rolled around again. So pretty practical if you ask me. So now that you have an idea of the background, let's take a look at some of the pagan traditions that have become associated with Christmas. The gift giving and Saturnalia. All right. This is a huge part of Christmas, the gift giving, right? But we center Christmas around gift giving, buying the gifts and giving the gifts, right? Not only is December a time to celebrate winter solstice, but between the 17th and 24th of the month, the Romans also celebrated Saturnalia. What is Saturnalia? This was a pagan holiday in honor of the agricultural god Saturn. Romans would spend a week of Saturnalia, much like how we spend Christmas holidays today, feasting, drinking, giving gifts, and being joyful. So maybe we co-opted Saturnalia, rebranded it to Christmas. These days, we fork out lots of money on Christmas gifts, but back then the Romans exchanged small gifts for the sake of good luck. The idea was to give a gift in the hope of bringing in a bountiful harvest the next year. Rather than a huge list of gifts to give, the Romans also shared only one gift with one other person. Hey, isn't that game where everybody sits in a circle and is that Secret Santa? I think that is Secret Santa. And then there's another game where you exchange gifts off a table and then you open it up and then you trade, but in the end everybody gets one gift. Somewhere along the line, giving gifts for luck and prosperity became a multi-million-dollar business. Isn't that funny? That is funny. I mean, that makes sense. Obviously, it's bringing in so much money. They're not going to want to get rid of that. So that's big. Gift giving, very core of our modern day Christmas, has pagan origins. 2, Santa's image and Christmas stockings. This isn't biblical, obviously, but let's see. Our current modern day image of Santa Claus, clad in red fur with big white beard, was largely developed by Coca-Cola in the 1930s. Coca-Cola. But the idea of an old man giving gifts to children dates much earlier than that, back to the time of pagans. Okay, so the whole branding, the marketing of Santa Claus, the red fur and all that stuff. I mean, the big beard, the red suit and all that stuff, that's from Coca-Cola. Makes sense because that's their color, red, right? Father Christmas, otherwise known as Saint Nicholas, was a patron saint for children, the poor, and prostitutes living around the 4th century AD. Saint Nicholas was a generous bishop who was known for giving gifts to the poor, sporting a big beard and a long cloak, much like the Santa we know and love. But even before Saint Nicholas, there was another bearded old man called Odin. Dang, we're going all the way back to Odin. Okay, this deity was worshipped by early Germanic pagan tribes, traditionally portrayed as an old man with a long white beard, with an 8-legged horse called Sleipnir. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But could you draw sleigh from Sleipnir? I don't know. Who would ride through the skies just like Santa's reindeer. Interesting. During the winter, kids would fill their booties, stockings, with carrots and straw and leave them by the chimney for Sleipnir to feed on. Oh. Odin would fly by and reward the children with little presents in their booties, much like we do with Christmas stockings today. The Santa Claus we all imagine in our heads today is a mishmash of the generous Saint Nicholas and the god Odin, Sleipnir, and Coca-Cola's iconic red-dressed character. Yo, that's actually crazy. Christmas carols. What's wrong with singing Christmas carols? Let's see. While the carols we sing for Christmas are undeniably Christian, the tradition itself of going door to door singing to your neighbors come from another pagan tradition called wassailing. And this is not saying that, oh, now you shouldn't go caroling. Going door to door singing is bad, okay? We're just talking about the origins of these traditions. The rather funny word comes from the Anglo-Saxon phrase weis hael, I don't know if I'm not pronouncing that correctly either, translating to good health. Every year, wassailers would roam through their villages in small groups, singing loudly with the aim of banishing evil spirits and wishing good health to those around them. No wassailing group was complete without their traditional drink on hand, made from the mulled ale, curdled cream, roasted apples, eggs, spices, and sugar. In the 13th century, St. Francis took inspiration from these happy choirs and started the tradition Christmas caroling. Kissing under the mistletoe? Well, probably there's some pagan origins to mistletoe. Ever wondered about the correlation between mistletoe and kissing? I mean, it is kind of odd. Why? Well, funnily enough, the tradition goes all the way back to pagans. Everyone from Romans and Celts to the Druids and the Norse had a thing about mistletoe. It was considered to be a highly sacred plant involved in several pagan rituals. In the Roman world, mistletoe honored the god Saturn. We're going back to the Saturnalia. All right, makes sense then. To keep him happy, they would perform fertility rituals underneath sprigs. Dude, this is insane. Sprigs of mistletoe. Yes, that's exactly what it sounds like. We've certainly toned it down as far as mistletoes are concerned and left it with just a simple kiss. Probably a good idea since family's always around. But the pagan origins of that is actually insane. In the world of the Druids, mistletoe symbolized peace and joy. In times of war, if enemies were to meet underneath woodland mistletoe, they would drop their weapons and form a truce until the next day. In a way, kissing is a form of truce. Whoa. Wow. Decking the halls with holly. I don't even know what that means, to be honest. I know the song, but deck the halls. I don't know what that is. Mistletoe wasn't the only sacred plant for pagans. Holly was another holy plant connected with the god Saturn. Again, we're tying it back to Saturnalia. During the Saturnalia holiday, Romans made holly wreaths to exchange as gifts for good luck. At the time of Saturnalia, early Christians began to celebrate Christmas. However, they were often persecuted for practicing their new religion. It was lucky that Christmas coincided with Saturnalia as it allowed Christians to harbor a cover for their Christmas celebrations. Was that lucky or was that intentional? To avoid detection and make it look like they were celebrating Saturnalia, Christians started hanging holly wreaths around their homes. This allowed them to recognize the other Christians and still do something nice to celebrate their sacred holiday. Eventually, as pagans decreased, holly became a symbol of Christmas instead of Saturnalia. Interesting. Christmas tree decorating. I've heard crazy stories about Christmas tree decorating, that the ornaments are actually heads of babies and I don't know, all this weird stuff. But let's see. Let's see what this article says. I don't know if that's accurate, but let's see. We sure have a lot of inspiration from the Romans, and tree decorating is just another borrowed tradition. It is kind of odd, right? Why do you have this tree in the center of your home? And you're putting gifts under it? Besides feasting, drinking, and exchanging gifts during Saturnalia, Romans also hung small metal ornaments on trees outside their homes. Each of these little ornaments represented a god, either Saturn or the family's personal patron saint. Early Germanic tribes practiced a similar tree decorating tradition, this time with fruits and candles to honor the god Odin throughout winter solstice. Christians seem to have merged the tree decorating with ornaments and candles and fruit to make Christmas tree decorating one extravagant tradition. If you're interested in pagan culture, you might want to know the pagan origins of Easter. I've heard that, Easter could be from Ishtar, the god Ishtar. We know Easter is celebrating the resurrection of Jesus, but maybe during the time we're celebrating it, or I don't know. That'd be interesting to look into as well. But anyways, these 6 Christmas traditions that were actually pagan customs, we take it for we see them all around us, and we just take it for granted. Hey, this is Christmas. But we don't think of the origins of these traditions, that they're actually in pagan customs. So how do you feel about having a tree inside your house now? You know? Here's my thoughts on that. Is it a bad thing to have a Christmas tree in your house? I mean, what are your intentions here? You know? Are your intentions to worship Odin or something like that? You know what I mean? No. I mean, at least I hope not. We celebrate Christmas to honor the birth of Jesus. Was Jesus born on Christmas Day? No, probably not. You know, it's looking like it's actually, we're celebrating. I mean, we're not celebrating Saturnalia, but it's a day that was chosen. Okay. Do I think celebrating Christmas is a bad thing? No, it is a time for us to reflect and remember the birth of Jesus. Remember that God sent His Son to this earth for us to die for us. Okay. In our minds, we're not thinking pagan tradition. We're not celebrating Saturn. Okay? We're not worshiping Saturn. We're not worshiping Odin. We're not doing any of these pagan traditions. I mean, we're not, in our minds, we're not thinking any of these pagan traditions, right? So I don't think celebrating Christmas is a bad thing. I can completely understand those who choose not to celebrate Christmas because they know the origins, and it's probably gnawing at their conscience. Why am I doing this? Why am I celebrating something that has pagan roots? Totally fine, okay? But I mean, Christmas has become very nostalgic. It is something that we've celebrated as children. We have fond memories of it, good memories of it. And I don't see anything wrong with it. Okay, if you pick, you know how they say, what would Jesus do? If Jesus was standing here while we celebrate Christmas, while we're all around, sitting around, opening presents, talking, singing carols, do you think Jesus would be upset? I don't think Jesus would be upset because He looks at the heart, right? What's in the heart? What are our intentions? They're not evil. We don't have pagan intentions or anything like that, right? So I would say don't feel guilty about celebrating Christmas. But now that we're equipped with this information, should that change our outlook? Like, should we be kissing under a mistletoe knowing what it means? Should we be decorating a tree knowing what it means? Because traditions evolve throughout time. Pagan origins or not, right? So things change. Does that mean our modern Christmas traditions have separated themselves enough from their pagan roots to stand on their own? These are interesting questions. I, for one, think I'm going to continue to celebrate Christmas. I don't feel guilty about it. But again, I can understand those who don't want to do it. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you guys think about this topic? What did you guys think about these 6 Christmas traditions that actually have pagan origins? Did you know about these? Let me know your thoughts down below. And if you have any more information on the topic, let me know down below. We're going to do another video. I plan on doing a video on a biblically accurate nativity. I think that'll be real interesting also. That's going to be a whole lot more biblical than this, but that's going to be it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.